Inside the womb of a great white shark, something truly alien is happening. The pups aren't connected to a placenta. There's no umbilical cord, no direct lifeline to the mother's bloodstream. For months, they just float in total darkness. So how do they grow from tiny embryos into meter-long apex predators before they're even born? The answer is a thick, nutrient-rich secretion scientists call histotroph. But there's a far better name for it: uterine milk. The mother floods the womb with this fluid, packed with proteins, growth factors, lipids, sugars, and the embryo just soaks it up, cell by cell, organ by organ, in secret, in silence, in the dark. No one watching, no pressure, no timeline, just growth. Now, what if I told you that your best ideas work exactly the same way? That half-baked thought you had in the shower, that 2 a.m. hunch you scribbled on a napkin, that vague creative spark that feels too fragile to touch. Most people think ideas need hard work or sudden genius or a whiteboard and a deadline. But here's the thing: the real magic doesn't happen in the boardroom. It doesn't happen in the brainstorm. It happens in the dark, in the quiet, in the hidden phase most people rush straight through. And here's what's wild. AI might be the most powerful tool for that phase that humans have ever built. Not for the reasons you think. And to understand why that's even possible, you need to go back to the very beginning.
Welcome to this video from Null Hypothesis. Right. So, let me take you to 1865. A German chemist named August Kekulé had been trying to crack the molecular structure of benzene for years. Not weeks, years. He'd filled notebooks, built physical models, argued with colleagues across Europe. He had all the data, all the training, all the motivation in the world, and still nothing. Then, one night, he fell asleep in front of his fireplace, and he dreamed of a snake eating its own tail. He woke up in that strange half-asleep, half-awake state, and it just hit him. Oh, the molecule is a ring. It loops back on itself. That's the structure. That's been the answer this whole time. One of the most important chemical discoveries of the 19th century came from a dream. Now, you might think, okay, fun story. The guy got lucky, right place, right fireplace, right dream. But here's the thing. In 1926, a British psychologist named Graham Wallas published a book called The Art of Thought. He'd spent decades studying inventors, artists, scientists, people across history, across disciplines, across cultures, and he found something almost embarrassingly consistent: 4 stages every time. Stage 1, preparation. You load the problem into your brain. You research, you grind, you struggle until your eyes hurt. You fill the tank. Stage 2, incubation. You stop, you walk away, you let the problem sit. Stage 3, illumination. The idea arrives out of nowhere, usually in the shower or on a walk or right at the edge of sleep. Stage 4, verification. You test it, refine it, make it real. Simple, right? And yet, here's what almost every person gets wrong. They treat the incubation stage as wasted time, as laziness, as something to feel guilty about. I should be working on this. I should be thinking harder. Why am I walking the dog when there's a problem to solve? But neuroscience has a very different answer, and once you hear it, you can't unhear it. Your brain has a network. Scientists call it the default mode network, the DMN. For a long time, embarrassingly long, researchers assumed this network was basically the brain's screensaver.
Background noise. Something that flickers on when you're not doing anything important? Oh, were they wrong.
We now know the default mode network is responsible for some of the most sophisticated processing your brain ever does. It's where you simulate possible futures, where you link disparate memories across years and decades, where you construct metaphors, where you unknowingly, automatically, unconsciously rearrange everything you've ever learned into new configurations. And here's the key. It turns on when your focused, conscious, effortful mind steps back. In other words, you think better about hard problems when you're not actively thinking about them. A psychologist named App Dijksterhuis ran a series of experiments to test this. He gave people a genuinely complex decision, choosing between apartments with multiple variables: location, price, noise, size, neighborhood, commute. Some people had time to think consciously and carefully. Others were deliberately distracted, forced to solve puzzles, do something else, occupy the conscious mind. Then everyone decided. The distracted group made better choices, more consistently, more rationally. Not because distraction is magic, because their unconscious mind was doing the actual heavy lifting, while their conscious mind was busy elsewhere. So, we have uterine milk, a hidden environment that nourishes what isn't ready for the world yet. We have the default mode network, a hidden processor that solves what the conscious mind can't, and Kekule's snake eating its own tail. Stay with me, because this is where it gets genuinely uncomfortable. Here's something I think is genuinely hard to sit with. We live inside an attention economy. Every notification, every scroll, every refresh, every ping and buzz and autoplay, all of it specifically engineered to interrupt your default mode network before it can finish its work. You know what that means? Your best ideas are being killed in the womb. Whew. The incubation phase has one non-negotiable requirement: unstructured time. Time where the problem can sit, can marinate, can be slowly worked on in the background without you hovering over it. But modern life has declared total war on unstructured time. We fill every gap. The elevator, the bathroom, the 2 seconds between unlocking our car and walking through a door, the 3 seconds between pressing play on one video and the next one loading. We have collectively forgotten how to do nothing. And here's the truly tragic part. You can't force the illumination stage. You can't schedule the eureka moment. You can't put brilliant insight in your calendar at 3 p.m. on Tuesday. Kekule didn't try to dream the benzene ring. It came because he stopped trying. So we're caught in a real contradiction. We need incubation. We can't manufacture it, and our environment is actively hostile to the conditions that allow it. Which brings us finally, fully, to AI, and to an idea that honestly stopped me in my tracks. I want you to picture something with me. A half-formed idea. Not a finished plan, not a strategy, not a product or a poem or a business model. Just a feeling of something, a hunch, a fragment. 3 words scribbled at 2 a.m. that seemed important, and now, in daylight, you can't explain why. That thing is an embryo. And here's what most people do. They try to birth it immediately. They open a Google Doc, they write a business plan, they pitch it to someone over lunch, and it dies because it wasn't ready. It hadn't been nourished. It hadn't had time. Now, what does an embryo actually need before it's ready for the world? Nutrients, warmth, a protected space where it can be challenged and reorganized without being destroyed, an environment that asks questions of it without demanding answers back. Uterine milk provides exactly that. And, I would argue, used correctly, AI can do the same thing for ideas. Wait, hear me out.
Because I'm not talking about using AI to generate ideas for you. That's the opposite of what I mean. That's giving the embryo a finished skeleton and calling it a birth. Here's what I'm actually talking about. When you bring a half-formed idea into a well-designed AI conversation, something strange starts to happen. The AI pushes back. It asks questions you hadn't thought to ask. It surfaces connections to things you already know but hadn't consciously linked yet. It reflects your idea back to you in a slightly different shape. And that reflection, that strange funhouse mirror version of your own thought, is enough to trigger your default mode network. You step away from the conversation, you go for a walk, you sleep, you make coffee and stare out the window, and 2 hours later, boom, the idea crystallizes. The AI wasn't the source of the insight. You were. But the AI provided the environment where the embryo could develop. Uterine milk for ideas. Okay. I need to take a small detour here because there's a concept from philosophy that makes all of this click in a way that I can't shake. In 1998, philosophers Andy Clark and David Chalmers published a paper called The Extended Mind. The argument was this: your mind doesn't end at your skull. When you use a notebook to offload your memory, the notebook is, functionally, part of your cognitive system. When a person with Alzheimer's uses sticky notes to navigate their home, those notes are doing the work the brain can no longer do. They are, literally, part of that person's thinking. Clark and Chalmers called this cognitive extension, the idea that thinking doesn't just happen in the brain. It happens through tools, through environments, through other people, through any system that extends your cognitive reach. Now, zoom forward to today. If a notebook counts as an extended mind, what does a dynamic, context-aware, responsive AI system count as? Something else entirely. And here's the biological parallel that makes this real. The reason uterine milk works isn't mystical, it's biochemical. It contains actual growth factors, molecules that signal to the embryo, grow here, divide here, organize this way. The environment is actively shaping the organism, not controlling it, not replacing it, shaping it.
A good AI conversation does exactly the same thing, informationally. It sends signals, applies pressure in specific directions. It organizes the chaos of your half-formed thought into something that has contours, a shape, a direction. You are not outsourcing your thinking. You are extending the environment in which your thinking occurs. The difference matters enormously. Look, this isn't theory. This is already happening, quietly, everywhere. Writers are training custom AI models on their own back catalogs, feeding them a half-formed plot, a character sketch, a scene fragment, and stepping away, coming back to find something that feels, structurally, like them. Not a replacement for their voice, a mirror that has absorbed their voice and reflected something back that sparks the next move. Designers are using AI image tools not to generate final artwork, but for mood boards, instant, infinite visual milk that surfaces directions a manual Google Images search could never produce. The finished piece is still theirs. The AI just created the nutrient bath where the idea could grow legs. Jazz musicians are jamming with AI trained on their own style and finding that the AI suggests phrases they would never have consciously reached for, but that feel right once they hear them, like the unconscious speaking through a synthetic instrument. Scientists, and this one genuinely surprised me, pitting AI-generated research ideas against ideas from human experts. The AI ideas rated as more novel, more outside the box. In one large study, GPT-4 outperformed average humans on divergent thinking tasks, originality, elaboration, the whole thing. Writers working with AI ideas produce stories rated measurably more novel and more useful than writers working alone. Oh, wow. Not because AI is smarter than humans, but because it can flood the creative environment with a density of unexpected connections that no single human brain has the range to generate alone. The mother doesn't design the shark. She just makes sure the environment is rich enough that the shark can design itself. Okay, here it is, the thing the whole video has been building toward. We are living through a shift, not just in technology, but in what it means to make something. For most of human history, creation was manufacturing. You were a factory worker. You assembled parts, effort in, product out. The chord between struggle and output was direct, measurable, visible, but we are moving right now in real time into an era of gestating. In a gestating world, you are not an assembler. You are an architect of environments. You are the one who decides what the womb looks like, what nutrients it contains, what questions it asks of the embryo. The skill of the future isn't doing, it's selection. It's knowing when the idea is ready. It's knowing which specific combination of inputs will grow a dragon instead of a goldfish. And here's the core revelation. The reason most people's ideas die isn't because they're not smart enough. It isn't because they don't work hard enough. It isn't because they're lazy or distracted or lacking discipline. It's because they skip the womb. They take a raw, undeveloped, fragile thing and they expose it to the world before it has a nervous system. The incubation stage isn't optional. It isn't a luxury for people with too much time. It is biologically required, evolutionarily ancient. Your brain is wired for it. And for the first time in human history, anyone can access an incubation chamber powerful enough to do it justice. Stop using AI as a vending machine for finished ideas. Start using it as a womb for unfinished ones. Bring it your confused, half-formed 3 a.m. thoughts. Don't ask it to solve them. Ask it to question them, to complicate them, to find the holes, to surface the connections, to hold the mess until the shape emerges. And then walk away, sleep, let your default node network run. Come back. You'll be shocked what's waiting for you. Now, I have to say this because I'd be doing you a disservice if I didn't. There's a version of all this that goes very wrong. If you use AI as a replacement for incubation, if you let it finish your thoughts for you every time without ever stepping away, without ever letting the default mode network do its work, you short-circuit the whole process. You get ideas that are coherent, polished, plausible, but they aren't yours. They haven't been metabolized by your unconscious. They haven't been made strange and specific and new by the particular shape of your mind and your life and your experience. They'll look like ideas, they'll sound like ideas, but they won't have that impossible-to-fake quality, that thing you can't name but always recognize of something that actually grew through someone. And there's a second danger. If the digital womb is flooded with the same repetitive patterns, the same biases, the same average outputs, the same statistical center of gravity, then all the ideas incubated inside it start to converge.
They become siblings, then clones. The group output gets better on average, but the peaks, the genuinely strange, genuinely original, genuinely human peaks, might flatten. Yikes. AI amplifies what you bring. It doesn't invent the soul. The shark pup eventually has to leave the womb. It has to bite. It has to swim in cold water. If it never does, if it stays in the warmth, endlessly nourished, never challenged, it never becomes what it's supposed to be. The embryo needs to do its own growing. The milk just creates the conditions. The AI is infrastructure. You are the organism. Use the milk. Don't become it. You know, I started this video with a weird biological metaphor about sharks, and I honestly wasn't sure where it was going to land, but here's what I keep coming back to. Nature, after 4 billion years of ruthless, unsentimental iteration, didn't evolve a process where the embryo is immediately exposed to the world. It built a protected space, a nourishing environment, time, warmth, nutrients, darkness, and then, when the time was right, it let the organism emerge. Your ideas deserve the same respect. Not every thought needs to be a tweet. Not every insight needs to be a pitch deck by Friday. Not every spark needs to immediately justify its existence to the world. Some things need to float in the dark for a while, absorbing what they need, becoming what they're meant to be. The next time you have a half-formed idea you don't know what to do with, don't kill it by rushing it into the world. Don't abandon it because it doesn't look finished yet. Give it an environment. Give it questions. Give it time. Give it
some milk. If this shifted something for you, if it changed even slightly how you think about creativity, AI, and the strange hidden process that turns fragments into things, then this channel is your kind of rabbit hole. We're building a whole series around cognition, creativity, and the tools that extend the human mind in ways we're only beginning to understand. Subscribe, hit the like button, and leave a comment. I want to know, what half-formed idea have you been carrying around that you haven't known what to do with? Because I have a feeling it's more ready than you think.
Thank you for watching. To view similar videos in future, do not forget to subscribe.